Hello everyone,
Hi, and welcome back to another video.
Sisterly Conversations. So the topic is issues with teamwork at school and at work. So I will start this one. I finished school like 2 years ago, but anyhow. To be honest with you, teamwork and group work can be a huge challenge. It has its pros and cons, yes, but it can be a challenge as well. So in terms of school, I don't really like working in groups at school because I find some people do not pull their weight, and then there's some people who just want to take over the group project. Now, if you want to take over and do all the work, I have no issues with that. But make sure you know what you're doing, because at the end of the day my grade gonna be affected. So that's why I always say still get an input from everybody even if you want to take it over. Another issue that I would have had to with in group work is when people take out the work that you did and they don't even ask you your permission. They don't say, well, this is this or this is that. They just take it out, erase it. And I had a colleague like that when I was going to school, and it had me really upset because it makes you feel like you don't know what you're doing or what you're writing. And everybody, and this one girl had issues whenever they worked with her. But if you know that you are ever so good, do the work yourself and make sure we get good grades. You understand? I am not promoting not helping in your group project, but when you find persons like that, you do it. You just leave it be. Right? It makes no sense stressing. In terms of work now,
Alright, before you go on to work, because I have a feeling I will forget everything
okay.
you're going to be saying. You're saying, and I have something to talk about that. I think that group work is called group work or teamwork for a reason. The reason being to work in groups. So basically, I feel like personally for me, I feel like if you're in a group, you have an assignment and you're in a group, and you have this person that comes across as wanting to already take control, or want to be erasing people's work or whatever. For me personally, that's gonna be a problem. Point blank. Period. There are some people who have a leadership um, mindset, and I have no problem with that because I am usually the person that I would take a step back unless I realize everybody else is taking a step back, and then I will go forward as a leader. But if I see somebody that's in my group that wants to take our leadership role, I kind of step back a bit and let them kind of, do their thing. But at the same time, I always put in my input, and I always make sure that I'm heard, and I always make sure that, I do what I have to do. And the rest of the group kind of does the same because I feel like at the end of the day, even if you're a leader, a good leader knows how to include their teammates. And so from the beginning stages where that situation comes out, I'm gonna be letting the professor know in case I need to, get a new group, because a situation like that can cause problems later down. And the worst thing you want is for the group to be midway or halfway, and then you have issues when you have to be doing a presentation or doing an assignment, and it's close to the finals or whatever, and then you have this major problem. I remember a girl that was in my group. She was telling me a story of herself in another group, and she was telling me that close to the final assignment, this girl started to act all weird about the whole group work and started making up stories and stuff. And then they had this big issue now where they had to redo the whole thing, and the professor was like, because the same professor, which I had her this semester, she was saying that make sure everything is front and proper. If you have any problems with your group, let me know in the early, because you don't want issues coming out to the finals. So unfortunately for them, they had to redo the whole assignment because people were butting heads within the group. And so you don't want that issue at all. So for me personally, I put my cards on the table up front, you know? And so that's what I have to say about that.
But what I was saying too, going back to the school work too, right? I find too sometimes when somebody takes control, even though yes, I am not the person who can be like a rebuttal or carry on again with the person. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. But I find sometimes too it gives us the group members a disadvantage because we don't know what really going on. So like for example, I had a group assignment too with this one guy. It was me and like four other people, and this one guy he took over the entire assignment. He do all kind of story about artificial intelligence, and I up to now I it's only now I understand what AI is. But before I did not understand what he was doing. I had no clue what was going on, and I knew the professor knew it when we were doing the presentation because we had no clue. And the thing is, he went too broad.
It wasn't connecting.
It was not connecting, and then we ended up not getting we passed, but we did not get the grade that we wanted. And everybody else was able, like for example, I wasn't even like I don't even know how to do like an infographic because he did everything, and that's not how it should have been. We should have been able to do everything together, right? But going back now to work can be a big challenge too. If you have a good team, okay, if you have a great team, you and that team can work along together. But when you have persons that got these nasty attitudes and behaving as though them is the boss and all kind of story, that's when the conflict now comes up. Yes, you get conflict in school, but you see work, the conflict at work is totally different. Because when you're gonna be dealing with attitudes, you're dealing with grown adults that are acting like little children, and they do not pull their weight. So those are things that could cause you to go mad because it's like people are not doing what they're supposed to do. And then if you go to management and management happens to be that person's friend, the dog day too. You know, so workplace teamwork to me is actually harder than schoolwork teamwork because schoolwork teamwork you could complain the tutor and the tutor can correct it. But sometimes with management, them got other fish to fry and they ain't gonna look at you. Right? So you try to at least have a good team. Make sure you and your coworkers not always gonna get along either. But make sure that y'all could work together at least, and make work comfortable. When I was home, it was like 5 or 6 of us. We were either morning or evening, and we had a good time. We used to be laughing and stuff like that, and we had a good time. We made sure the work was done, everybody was fed, and everything was good. But there's sometimes or some days when you're working with somebody you don't ever talk to the person, you do one half, the other boy do the other half, and that's it. That shouldn't be how work is, right? But that's how it is for me. What do you think?
So for me, that's not so much the issue for me. I think the issue for me is um where you first come into a workplace and people are now kind of getting to know you. So some people kind of try to test your limits,
Right.
see how much they can get over you. Some people try to see if they can bully you,
Yeah.
and I think if you don't stand up for yourself in that short space of time, it can lead to a lot of problems afterwards. I remember when I first got my first job after college, and my co-worker, I think she just had an issue because I was the educator in the room, and she was my assistant. And so she had, I think, and she was there for 5 years, and she was a lot older than me, and I was young. I was now coming out of school, and I was like 23 years old or something. I was actually the youngest person in the entire workplace. And there were a lot of people working in our workplace, right? And I was the youngest. And I was running the class. Where I came in, even though she was there for 5 years, I came in as the leader, right? And she was supposed to be my assistant. And she started off by giving me a really hard time. because I think that she was genuinely jealous of me being um,
A ECE
being
and
a
younger.
young a young ECE, and she was the assistant, right? But I had to nip that in the bud very early. I nipped it in the bud very early. I ended up going to the manager or whatever, and then afterwards, and I had to show her like I'm not one to be played with. And after that, we actually had a really good relationship afterwards. Like we really got along afterwards, and we didn't really have any other real issues working together. And then eventually they moved me to a new classroom, and I actually missed her because we got to the point where we worked really well together afterwards, right? And it taught me very early on conflict resolution, and it taught me how to communicate with other people, recognizing that everybody have different personalities. And she actually taught me a lot about the job. And my thing is this: I did not come in to take her role, because despite her being the assistant, she was there longer, which meant that she had more experience than I did. I was just coming in from off of school, so my thing was not to take over from her, but I guess she saw me as a threat or as a competition, but that was not what where my goal is. And sometimes people come into the workplace too as a newbie, acting like because they have a higher position that is, well, you can't tell me nothing, whatever. And sometimes that's why people get that type of um like that type of wall. They put up that type of wall against you before they even could get to know you, because they have this idea that you're just gonna come and take over the entire show. But that wasn't me. I'm a believer in stopping and checking to see what's going on first before I put in my own thing, before I give my own input or whatever. And it works because I feel like regardless of if you're the assistant, regardless of if you're whatever, you have enough experience to teach me things.
Right.
And then eventually as we go on, we teach each other, we learn from each other. It's about building. Teamwork is about building, it's about cooperating. It's not about one person upping the other person, it's about getting along, doing things together. And the job gets done way better when you work together anyway.
It's true.
It's not this, competition thing that people like to do. And I find that's really people get upset too, because you're coming into a situation where you're younger and you have a higher position.
Correct.
But you can't control that.
It's
if you
true.
go to school to learn something and you get a position, for example, my sister's a registered nurse. She comes and she gets a position as a registered nurse, and then there's somebody that's an RPN, right? You can't, and the RPN is older than her and have more experience than she does because they were there longer. You can't hate the person that is young and have a higher education level or have a higher degree or whatever, because they went to school. If you want the higher degree, regardless of your age, go back to school and do it.
Hallelujah.
Because that's the problem. People come in and they get so jealous when it's a younger person. They get so jealous when the person have a higher degree than them, so they have a higher position. But school is open up. You could go to school at 80, 90, 100.
Even 110.
Right? As long as you're alive, you can go back to school and do what you have to do.
But what my sister said is so true. And I actually had experienced that when I first went to my former workplace back home. I remembered I did not start as an RN. I started as a trainee nursing assistant. But I had completed school. It was just to write the exam. And I met this lady, and apparently she wrote the exam 3 times. She didn't pass it or whatever. So when I got there, me and her were okay. We worked nights together, and then during the daytime we worked together too. And I told her she could let me do certain things. I don't really mind or whatever. So one day I was giving insulin, and she's standing up watching me. So that irritated me, cause my thing is, why are you watching me? You know that I am trained. I just need to write the registration exam. Why are you doing that? And then she can tell me, oh, that's not how you give insulin. You understand? And my thing is, lady, I went to school for 4 years. I know what I'm doing. I'm not behaving as I'm on top of you or whatever and all of that. Like, again, it's not my fault that you failed. You fail because of certain circumstances. I'm not saying you're not a bad nurse. You're an excellent nurse. But what I'm saying is, do not treat me as though I just because I'm younger than you, you think that you won't be disrespectful. So then when it became a RN, when it passed the exam was registered, she got so jealous. She got so jealous and she was waiting for me to foil up. Okay? And the thing is, after I told her off, maybe once or twice when she got the picture to don't mess with me, we became good friends. But then there was a day that I don't even think that I messed up. It was just that the patient wanted something and it was not she's not allergic to it or anything like that. So I gave it to her and then another nurse came tell me, oh, I shouldn't have given, and then she won't want for me. No, my thing is, if you're gonna bow on me in private. There's another issue too with working in teams as well, because you gotta know how to speak to people. When you speak to people and carry on with them and behave bad and do all of that, that's gonna mess up the person's perception on who you are as an individual, right? So she spoke to me and she's like, so I had to let her know. I could see that you were just waiting for me to foil up. Right? You were waiting on me because you know that I'm a good nurse, but because you did not get through with your exam, you could not wait for me to quote unquote fall. And you got your master opportunity, or so you thought. I know, look, and then she felt bad, right? But my thing is, you have to, as Shinja said, the school is open. If you did not get through with being a registered nurse, there are other countries that you could have become a registered nurse because you are trained. You're a trained RN. So don't behave as though school is done or school shut down. If you want to quit your job and go back to school, do it. That has nothing to do with me. When I went to school, I went to school. You understand? So I understand completely what my sister was saying, and that's why I said hallelujah, because it happened to me too. But the bullying and stuff like that, you have to nip it in the bud. You gotta let these people know, look, do not play with me. I don't care if you's 102, do not play with me. Because the same way you want respect, you gotta give me respect. And plus two, even though I am younger than you, you still have to respect me because I am in a higher position. So get your life.
Okay, so I think my sister had a little rant there, but she totally, what she's saying is totally correct. And yeah, it is very, very, very important to nip things in the bud in the early when you see things starting to come up. If you don't nip it in the bud, it's going to fester and it's going to eventually blow out of proportion.
Yeah.
So it's very important. And like I said before, if you want some things, you see somebody in a higher position than you and you feel that you want to achieve that, then go back to school. Go back and do what you have to do. It's open. Do what you have to do to achieve what you want to achieve, right? It makes absolutely no sense in hating on somebody for their success. You don't know what they went through to get it. You didn't see the tears they cried. You didn't see the nights they were up. You didn't see their journey. So you don't know.
Exactly.
So do what you have to do instead of hitting on other people. Go back and accomplish what you have to accomplish.
Exactly.
Simple as.
Because somebody don't know the amount of failures that you had during your lifetime when you were in school. I had to write over 2 subs. And then I had to also do over exam 3 times for me to pass college. Now, if I'm not going, I just broadcasted it. But back then, I did not broadcast it because it's none of your business, right? Mm-hmm. The point is, you see me here,
but you don't know
my story, you don't know my journey. Mm-hmm. So you ain't take time, but you want to be jealous, which makes no sense.
Yeah. So I thank you for listening to our rant, and I hope you pick something from it. And if you have any stories for yourself as well, anything you've experienced, anybody being jealous, or trying to even make you fall, or stop your shine, so to speak. Let us know in the comments any stories you have to tell. Let us know. And thank you for watching.
Please like,
share,
and subscribe.
And subscribe.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.